welcome back to another episode of Bagged and Board. I am Vlad St. Valentine. With me is the hostess with the mostest, Mr. Caidan Ramos.
How you doing?
Dude, great. How about yourself?
Not bad, not bad.
I keep thinking these are bobbleheads, and I keep disappointed that they're not.
Yeah, they make separate bobblehead ones.
What's the functionality if it doesn't bobble? All right, we're here today talking about Maximum Carnage Part 7, which was an Amazing Spider-Man 379. This issue, it started off with Spider-Man and the gang. We're like at Carnage's, like the boys' school he grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, why are we here? Because the rest of us, the audience, were like, why the fuck were they there? So at least they had the wherewithal to ask themselves, like, hey, what are we doing? And the answer is like, oh, I thought it might give us some ideas as to what.
Yeah, Carnage was raised here, so we figured there might be clues as to what he's doing.
And then he says it 5 seconds later, it's just a reminder that he's chaos and there's probably no clues here. It's like, y'all just needed a place for them to be, and you spent 2 seconds to explain it. So you're like, oh, fuck, yeah. You could just have him standing anywhere and just avoided this and saved yourselves 2 panels, guys, really. Yeah. But anyway, this is where they're hanging out, and Venom decides they were talking about ways to take Carnage down. Venom decides that let's go after that sonic gun from the Fantastic Four. And it's like, oh yeah, Black Cat's like, while we're at it, we'll just get, Human Torch because fire hurts you guys too. And even though it's not the same symbiote, the whatever it is that he's creating must have the same, weaknesses and stuff. But apparently Spider-Man's like, oh, unfortunately the Fantastic Four and the Avengers are both out of town this weekend. And all I could think of was like a bad WB TV show where they couldn't afford to like pay for like the movie star actors to show up. So they'd be like, oh, Aquaman was just here because we couldn't afford Jason Momoa to be on the CW.
I like what they did in Deadpool. Like, oh yeah, it's only you guys because you can't afford the real ones.
Yeah. Except for they actually got them to sit in a room for 5 seconds and shut a door on them.
Yeah.
Funny. But yeah, that's all I could think. It was like, it doesn't cost more to draw these guys. You're still paying the artist to draw regardless of what's happening. Like, it's like, oh shit, we can't afford Cap for the day. Like, you couldn't afford Cap for the day? Since both the super groups are out of town, he says he's going to recruit Firestar. Spider-Man says we'll get Firestar. I do not know who the hell Firestar is. I had never heard of this character before this point. But like when I was a child, I always thought like whenever I saw characters I'd never heard of, because like I'd never heard of Cloak and Dagger before I read this as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh well, I just I'm poor. I don't get comic books, so I just don't know. And I'm sure Firestar is in a bunch of stuff, whatever. New Warriors comic, because I think that's because she said there's just the Warriors.
Yeah, Warriors Jericho HQ.
Yeah. So I didn't read that shit, man. I didn't read X Factor or any of those the offshoot stuff. Mm-hmm. So I barely could afford the few handful of comics I did get. I always bought the main storylines. Yeah. Because God knows I couldn't really afford comics. Huh. No, yeah, I always thought like, oh, I just don't know because I'm not in the know. But as you get older and as we gotten older and these things become part of the cultural mythos, like I've still never heard fuck all about Firestar before. That's their all right. So that's their plan. They're gonna go get the Firestar and not tell the big guns what's going on because they're on vacation or whatever. I hope whatever is they're out there doing is obviously more important than the wholesale slaughter of all these people in New York City. Like, I'm sure they're facing something galactic and the whole world's about to be destroyed or something. And maybe one psychotic is kind of like, what, you couldn't handle this while we were gone? I mean, that's the sort of situation we're in. But I don't know. Seems like something you come home and help with. What do I know?
Yeah.
I mean, Spider-Man's so small time, he's still trying to stop the carjackings and stuff, as we see in this issue.
Yeah. And then he gets mad at himself for saying, well, you can't pick and choose who lives, who dies.
No, he tries to make it. He's like, I can't decide who gets helped, and so he stops to help people, and then Black Cat has to help him get out of the spot. And it's like, would you quit fucking doing this? We've got to go stop all these people from being slaughtered.
Yeah,
and again, people are starting to go crazy, and kind of fall into the Carnage mentality. I mean, he's causing the chaos, and he's spreading his chaos is spreading. From Carnage to like the low level thugs and stuff to now just normal people who are maybe, like as we see later on, a guy who's out of work, but just the average person who's a little bit desperate in these times is starting to rely on violence and chaos. And we get a scene with, May and fake Pete's dad walking through the streets, and
Mhm.
they get mugged by an accountant, a late an out of work accountant who's like, Carnage is right. Come here, old lady. Give me your purse if you want to see what Carnage real, or unless you want to see what Carnage really is. And fake Spider Dad has to whack him on the head with a 2x4. And
Yeah.
he's like, "There's your good and people, Aunt May." Because before this, she's talking about you shouldn't tell Peter all that bad things about people are bad. There's good in everyone. And then just on cue, attack of what's the dude from The Office? The black dude from The Office.
Stanley.
Yeah, attack of Stanley. Attack of Buff Stanley instead of Flat Stanley. Because that dude was kind of buff.
Yeah.
But it was just like some black office worker dude who yeah,
Yeah.
just
Oh,
got laid off
I
after
was loyal
several
for 20
years.
years to get all I got was this note and, a goodbye.
So I'm gonna go mug some old lady. Okay. Uh, but I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. Is the average person now? It's just the chaos is seeping further and further and further, and you know, Spider-Man's already felt like he's compromised himself, so everyone is being changed by this. Um, it's almost like a Batman storyline in a Spider-Man comic book.
Yeah.
You know, so one of the other things I was thinking about is, after they make their plans to go get a hold of the sonic gun and to go get Firestar, Cloak goes off to get Firestar because he can search faster, and the other three, Black Cat, Venom, and Spider Man, go to get the gun, break into the Fantastic Four's secret headquarters. Because why not?
Mm. Which they don't have too much trouble doing.
No,
'Cause half of it's blown open.
no, they got well. That's true. They were still rebuilding. Oh well. Uh,
So they got past the door guard, fine. But
there was a bit though when they're first swinging out, and he's like thinking about MJ and stuff. He's like, I wish I could go see how she's doing, blah 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 blah
Mhm.
blah. And it's like, glad she didn't get severely hurt at the club. I'm like, a brick fell and hit her on the head. She could have a concussion, man. Like, he's like, I'm just imagining this thing going, I don't care if she's got severe head trauma, she's still hot, like fuck. Way to give a shit about your wife. It's like, doesn't matter if she's dumb as long as she's hot. Fuck, man. Come on, Spidey.
and like you didn't take her home. You were there. She was there.
No, you're
You
like,
could you couldn't have taken her home to make sure that she was safe.
no, he had to swing off to everybody else, and I guess she got to ride with those two guys that were grinding on her all night long.
You could have set her up with some food, turned the TV on, and then webbed her into her chair. Make sure she was safe.
I don't think that's kosher either, man. Oh yeah, I remember when I opened this up and they're doing their little talk about their plans, whatever. I remember like I wrote down like, what the fuck where the hell is Morbius? Where'd he go? And then we literally the next scene after I wrote that down, the next panel was Morbius' secret mission. I just got the little shame line through it over here on my notes. My little line of shame from me of little faith over here. But he goes and gets files on. He breaks into Ravencroft, which again he just slips through the hole that Carnage had made on the way out, and uploads or downloads and prints off Shriek's backstory or files so they can know your enemy sort of
Mhm.
thing. But can't get to the team yet because he's got to go sleep himself in his hyperbaric chamber. So
Yeah, it's almost sun up.
I don't know. Maybe you could have sent the cat burglar who doesn't have a time limit to go get these things. I'm throwing that out there to you. Maybe the person whose specialty is breaking into things to get the time sensitive information.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to wait the night for Morbius to go nappy nap. Poor
Or
planning. This is why you guys are getting your butt kicked for most of this thing. All right,
or
we're halfway through
while
this,
it's
and
printing up, he could call them and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna leave the file here. You can pick it up."
yeah, leave that message somewhere. Spider-Man definitely has an answering machine, but I guess he doesn't know. Like Peter Parker is like, or you'd be like, "Hey, I'm always that guy I always get my picture taken by. If you just leave a message with his thing, he knows how to get a hold of me."
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it takes. After this, we get the scene with the special police force trying to take on Carney and crew, but they're attacked from behind by Carrion, who officially joins the group,
Mhm.
and they just make light work of the cops. So that was the only point of this panel was just to show that Carrion is a thing and that is worthy of joining their group, and he himself is deadly. Everyone got their intro bit. Goblin got his intro bit, and that was it.
Yep.
That's all this was. Cool. We did get to MJ, who's still pissed off and like grabbed a knife. She's like, "I'm on my own," or what. I don't know what she was planning on that. Was she gonna stab Peter when he came home, or was she gonna like?
Does she not know how spider sense works? Like,
Well, man, you try reasoning with the redhead. I
no, sir, I like living. Although I guess if you're MJ, you can just kind of like start getting on to Peter, like get that arousal thing going on, and I guess the spider sense goes down, and then just stab him in the heart.
in the dick too. You'll heal up. That was a warning. I didn't hit anything vital. Just stabs him like right in the shoulder or something. Yeah, Death Clock shows up, who's uh 95% cyborg, 5% crypt keeper. Uh and he races through the internet like lightning fast, is which I guess back in 1993 meant he had like a 56K modem. So
Hmm.
he's sitting there like loading up pages at like a minute a piece, like just lightning fast. Like, that's what took him so long to get to the slaughter. He's been on this case since Carnage broke out. He just now got that page loaded up to figure out what was going on. So Death Clock shows up and like, uh, he's got a computer that can like talk to him fast enough to be like, because it's like the pumpkin bombs were thrown. It's like projectiles. What should I do? You should dodge. Thank you. And then he dodges out of the way. He had time to do all that while those pumpkin bombs were in the air.
Yeah,
So I guess it's fast enough. I mean, he's like the computer wore tennis shoes. He's like Kirk Cameron.
he's like off-brand Tony Stark, great value Tony Stark.
If he was played by the Crypt Keeper. So
And then Carrion attacks him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, good thing that you only decay flesh."
touch his face, Carrie, but he tries to grab his chest. He grabs like the 95% that's metal. And he totally let him touch him. You could have just like from here, watch what I do. Watch what I do, Karen. That would have been it. You were taking the dude out.
Yeah, that's all you gotta do. Just start waving your hands everywhere. Just, nobody will come near you.
But he gets punched out like a bitch after his intro. So, and then
He's-
Demogoblin looks like a total chump because he gets his flame riding glider shot out from underneath him. How do you shoot a flame thing? Because I didn't even think it was tangible. He gets shot and he goes flying off of it and like falls on his butt and hits a car and stuff. It's kind of goofy. But eventually Shriek hits Death Clock and sends him into a sign. And apparently, just the electricity from a sign is enough to overload his circuits and give him a shock and knock him out. You started off all badass with that, that early '90s Cable Bishop look going on, with the super giant thighs that are
Mhm.
metallic and stuff. But fuck, man, you went out like a punk real quick, dude. And all it took was was a neon sign. Like,
Yeah, not even Electro, dude.
yeah, dude, that was bad. Oh yeah, imagine if it was the Shockmaster or Electro. Yeah, you would have been fucked. Fucked. There are two villains that I can think of off the top of my head alone in this city that could fuck your shit up if you can't handle electricity. Not even just in the city, just in the Spider-Man mythos, because I'm sure there's other New York-based electric villains that aren't in Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. There's got to be, right? It's one of the go-tos. It's probably wrong with firepower and like frost power.
Mhm.
The elements are always the easy thing to go to because I mean, who wouldn't want to have fireball throwing powers? It's kind of cool. So here towards the end, we get Spider-Man gang, like we said, they do break into the Fantastic Four's building
Mhm.
relatively easy, and they get a hold of the Sonic Blaster. And Venom's like, I believe we'll hold on to this because we're the only one that it can hurt. And Black Cat's like, you need to trust people, otherwise you'll get an ulcer. That's kind of the only thing said about it, kind of like a joke. But literally 2 panels later, Spider-Man's holding the blaster. So I guess that little like, you'll get an ulcer if you don't trust people was enough for him to go, you're right. Spider-Man, my mortal enemy, hold the only thing that can take me out. Even though you've been like questioning and double crossing and leaving our team this and like half on the edge of leaving this team the entire time. You hold on to it now, 2 panels later.
Well, they're back at the
Yeah, that's
hideout,
fine,
but
but
if he got tired of carrying it and just making Peter carry it.
he's just like leaning against the wall. Well, he's like, it's not one of those like, oh, let me look at it real quick. Like he's holding it, and then like in the final splash scene, he's like holding it up, like let's lock and load, because science is great. Uh, Thing
Parker
is, like,
Parker does love his science.
yeah, but Cloak shows up with Firestar. They've got the gun now. Spider Man's holding for some reason, and Firestar like it's like, hey, I've got been told what's going on, with Carnage. Do you even think we got enough? He's like, I think we do now because now we've got science on our side. And when he faces the best science ever, then he's gonna have his ass kicked and he'll know what hit him. And all the while they're saying this though, they're showing scenes of the most technologically advanced cyborg ever, being strung up and crucified almost on this neon sign. So, man, he should never get into a fight in, Times Square. Call signs and shit around there. Like he would be fucked in a second. So,
Mhm.
like, just certain parts of New York he just stays out of. Like,
Yeah.
don't want to fight too many signs. They stay in the warehouse district, places I don't really advertise. It's better for
Not a
me.
lot of power lines.
Oh yeah, man. Imagine if he like lives all the way till he gets to like a cyberpunky, like, dystopian future where it's just neon signs everywhere. Like hopefully his cybernetics will be like insulated by that point. Maybe just have like a little dampener or some shit, or like, I don't know, man. Just
Yeah.
I'm simply saying you have technology be the fastest thing ever, which means again those lightning 56K speeds. Uh Maybe just figure out a surge protector just to build it, maybe like a fuse that'll pop and you can just, you got a little bit of like backup life left to repop the fuse.
Yeah, backup battery, generator.
Just I don't know.
Maybe even go solar powered.
Yeah, and just build a little alternator in there. Every time your hips move, it recharges the battery. I mean, one jerk off session, you can refill that thing. Anyway, that was issue 7. We are at the halfway point, and things are ramping up. Our heroes look like they have a plan, but of course, our villains, their group keeps getting bigger. Uh, they've just taken out one of the heroes who tried to take on the team alone. Because each time they try and take them on, alone, they end up getting their butts whooped. And I think that's kind of what this is about. It's teamwork makes the dream work. But
Yeah.
we're just building these big Survivor Series teams, on each side, so where it becomes just a giant chaotic mess in the drawings. Which I mean, fair enough, is how every X-Men comic ends up being. But you got a team of this many people, it's kind of hard
Yeah.
not to get that way. Uh, I am obviously I know where I don't remember all the middle of this. It's been a while since I've read it. So getting to read the individual meat of this is has been fun for me. I obviously know where it's going. I know especially like the next few issues, some of the stuff sticks out in
Mhm.
memory, especially now that they have the sonic gun. But I am looking forward to the team battle royales later on. I'm looking forward to the ending and things like that. And this issue was kind of just, I mean, outside of the May scene, I think was kind of the most impactful thing. Her having to face the fact that her worldview in her 80s, that everything is good and life is peachy, might
Mhm.
not be right. With that mugging scene,
Yeah.
might have been the most impactful scene of this one. It was very minor, but I can't think of anything else that was as. So everything else was just like, well, here's Karen, he's part of the group now. Okay, we
Mhm.
got through that bit. Um, but they're very good about the pacing in these books, and that's something that's been good in all three of the different comics that this series has run across. Is they're good at we'll be on Spider-Man and Friends for a page or two, and then we go over to the Carnage one for a page or two. That way, because like really, like we're gonna get Firestar. We've got Firestar. That happens relatively quickly, but you've moved back and forth a couple of times at that point that you felt like time has
Yeah.
gone on for quite a while.
Yeah. It's done in a way to where the background info issues like this one are
Mhm.
done so that they're not boring.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, and there's enough of the yeah, again, we were trying to like, what is impactful in this? Nothing, but you definitely had a good time reading it. Then they throw in that one little panel, switching
Mhm.
over to that. So you're adding a little bit more and you keep the themes going in this. We got to get through this issue, but we don't want to let people forget about the themes of it, the nature of man and
Yeah.
facing your own, facing your worldview and your outlook on humanity, good versus evil, nature versus nurture, blah, blah, blah. Uh, and then obviously they dip back in for a couple of seconds into, hey, MJ is still a thing and Spider-Man and her on the outs. And then also Harry's widow is still a thing. Don't forget
Mhm.
about that. So a little bit of reminder, just like, hey, don't forget about this stuff too, while we just kind of fill through kind of the stuff we need to get through and
Yeah.
add some more members to the team here. But that was it. This was a setup one, it's setting your pieces up
Yeah.
before you.
Filler issue.
What's that?
Filler issue.
Yeah, but a well done one.
Yeah, that's what I said. The
Yeah.
pacing's done well enough to where a filler issue, background issue isn't boring.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I agree. All right, man. Well, that was it for this issue. You got anything else?
No, I don't got anything else. Looking forward to the rest of this.
Yeah, dude, I love this series so much, and I think after we get done with this, I think we should go back and try and play the old Sega Genesis game and see how far we can get.
You can get a hold of one for relatively cheap.
Emulator.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you can find one.
pay for it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Like, subscribe, share this with your friends. Go out and support some damn comic book shops and say hi to mother for me.